super excited for today's video because we are going to diving into one of the core concepts of Python programming, which is data types. Whether you are beginning or looking to brush up on your skills, understanding data types is essential to writing clean, efficient Python code. Or be it any language, data type plays a crucial role in it. By the end of the video, probably trying to divide it into two basically. We will have a solid grasp of how Python handles different kinds of data and how to use them in our programs. So just stick around, grab a cup of coffee, and let's jump right in. So let's start with the basics. Okay, what exactly are data types? Think of data types as a way for Python to understand what kind of data it's working with. It helps Python understand that. Whether it's numbers that you are working with, text, or a combination of different elements, Python needs to know what kind of values a variable holds. Now, what is a variable? Variable is anything uh, which will be acting as a holder, but uh, not but we can give it some value, and over the time we can even change it. So it is a variable. This allows Python to allocate the right amount of memory. So the memory for number, say normal number int, will be different than float, which we will come at later point to understand what it is. So it will help allow Python to allocate the right amount of memory and perform the right operations on that data. To give you a real world example or analogy, think of data type like containers in your kitchen. You wouldn't put soup in a basket, right? Yep. Similarly, Python knows which container to use depending on the data type, on the type of data you give it. Let's see. Type of data types. So, in general, we have numeric type, which includes integers, floats, and complex numbers. Sorry for the typo. Then we have sequence types, which has strings, lists, and tuples. Then we have a boolean type, which holds true and false. We'll dive, getting deep dive. Then we have a set type, and post that we have mapping type. So numeric type, this type is going to hold integer, float, or complex numbers. Whenever we are trying to handle anything regarding numbers, we are talking about numeric type. So integers are basically called in short form as int, and floating point numbers would be called as float, and complex numbers called as complex. Now let's get into actual example. First we'll get into integer. Say this is a variable which hold value 30, and the holder is age. So when we give it, Python will be trying to understand what kind of data it is and how much memory it should be allocated. So let's assume it is an integer, but we need to be sure, right, what exactly it is. So we will use this function type and give inside the type the variable name to understand what kind of variable it is, and give a enter. It says it is of type int, so we can understand the variable is integer which is holding value 30. And as we know, integer are just whole numbers which can be positive, negative, or 0. Let us dive into float example. Say I have a price which has some mm, decimal values. Let's again try to be sure what kind of type this variable is. It says float. Why does it say so? Because floats are used for numbers with decimal points. As here we have 0.88. So these are really useful when dealing with precise measurements, calculations, or anything that requires a fraction. This is very much required in the real world. Even integer is required, but yeah, float comes in when we get into some precision. Now let us look for complex example of complex. Say this again a variable named complex numbers where I am giving it plus 5j. As we can see here, 3 plus 5 could be a normal integer, but as we have written a j, what does it becomes? Let us first try to verify that. Complex numbers. What wrong did I do? Complex. Okay, let me try complex number. Okay, so it says complex. So this is usually used for more advanced mathematical operations. We have a complex number where we have this j, which I just mentioned, represent the imaginary part. So it could hold anything. Complex numbers aren't commonly used in everyday coding, but they are great for things like signal processing or solving certain mathematical problems. Remember guys, Python automatically assigns the correct data type based on the value you provide. So whether it's an integer, float, or complex number, Python's got you covered. Post this, let us get into sequence type. So what would that hold? It would hold strings, list, and tuples. So basically sequence type holds that stores multiple items, and they include string, lists, and tuples. String in Python is simply a sequence of characters A, B, C, D. When there are a list of them A, B, C, D all together or in any other way, B, A, C, D or any way. So this become a string. Let us get into a string example to better understanding. Say greeting. And yep, one thing I forgot to tell. This could be enclosed either in single, double, or triple quotes. That doesn't matter. Just the matter is, if you're starting with single quote, you need to end with a single quote, and if you start with double quotes, you need to end it with a double quote. So strings are used to represent text. For example, Python. Now let's see what is the type of the variable greeting. Say string. Here is a string. One cool thing about it, the string, is that we can perform a variety of operations on them. operations on string like slicing means breaking it down, concatenation, and many more are there. So we'll get into detail in the subsequent chapters or lectures when we see. Right now, let me give you an example of slicing. So this greeting that we have, let us try to see slicing. So I'm trying to break down, as we have already given a greeting which holds hello Python. So now if I want to slice or trim it, say 5 ending and this. Just bear with me, this is just the introduction part, but over the time when we are going in details, we will better understand what exactly the syntax are. But right now when we are saying here, greeting, which is the variable that we have on top which holds hello Python, and right now the pointer which is there, this was the actual variable which holds all the values, and when I'm going to print it, so I have trying to use the same greeting and doing some operation here. What is it actually? So Python and some languages similar to Python are zero arrayed. So this h becomes the variable 0, or to say the array 0. So h becomes 0, so it starts anything from 0 ending till 5. So when I press enter, what would happen is it will slice it, it will break it down and get everything from 0 till the length 5. So h e l l o, so 0 1 2 3 4, and it will omit the last one. So fifth element will be omitted, but then 0 1 2 3 4, so it become 5 places. So h 0 e become ones, l become 3, another l become 4, and this become fifth. 0 1 2 3 4, so fourth is o. So when I give an enter over here, it will start from 0 and omit 5, and it prints hello for us. So this is the power of slicing. We can use them, and maybe we can even store it. Say I have a greeting sliced. Okay, now what I am doing is greeting, again I am just trying to use the same greeting 5. So what would it do is it will save it, and let me, if I'm trying to print and see whether it's saved or not, or what is happening here. See, it just stored. So how does it helps is, say we have a lot of values, we want to do some operations on them, and they also do not want to disturb the real variable or the list or anything. So this is what we can do, or how we can get used to it. Next, let us look at a list. What is a list? List is also part of the sequence type. List is like one of the most flexible and most commonly used data type in Python. It will be hugely used, very much used kind of data type. So they will allow us to store multiple items in a single variable. Right now, when I have this greeting, I am just able to store this hello Python. Or the age is like 30. I can't store 30, 40, 50. Or price, a multiple price, we can't do. But with list, we can do. We can store any kind of values. So list allows us to store multiple items in a single variable. And importantly, they are mutable. What does mutable means? We'll get into detail just a while later, but just to give you a little intro, so we have two things, mutable and unmutable. Mutable is something when we have defined something, over the time we can update that, change that, trim it or delete at all. Unmutable means it is kind of a final, so once defined we cannot do any more updates on that. So list over here is a mutable data type, meaning you can change their contents after they are created. Let us see the example to better understand. Say I have a list of type fruits. Let me add apple, banana, and cherry. So this is a list and this is a syntax. Please take a note of the bracket that we have used. I have a list of fruits which is holding apple, banana, and cherry. Right now, if I print, we would see that we have print fruit. Sorry, my mistake. I have fruits. So we have apple, banana, and cherry. Now let us first see what kind of variable it is. With the type fruits. It is of type list. So as we have seen previously, like str, complex, and whatnot. So similar, when we are checking this, it is saying as it is a list. Now let us try to modify the list. For that, what we would do is append. Append means we are going to add. We are going to add, say, orange. If I add orange and try to again read, when I'm printing it, previously initially we had this apple, banana, and cherry, and once we have appended, we can see the other one added as well. So as we can see, it got added, and it with other functions that we have in list, which will be diving it into later into deep. We will see that we can even shrink dynamically. We can remove items, sort them. There are many methods or functions that we have to handle or to play with the list. Now let us get to see a tuple. Tuples are similar to lists, but with one key difference. They are immutable. As I just said, mutable and immutable. Immutable would be something that once we have defined, we cannot change them. They become fixed. We can take tuples for an example. Perfect example would be when what will be the use case actually. So it is something, say we are creating object oriented programming, and we have the college name, say George College. So we want that to remain fixed throughout the program. So for those kind of scenarios, we can use them. Say we have some coordinate. Say I have a coordinate which should be fixed throughout the program. And check the syntax. The syntax that we are using, it is different than the list that we have used initially. So this was the syntax, and this is different over here. So I'm creating a tuple here, but how will I verify? I will do a type again to see. It says it as tuple. So once we have defined this coordinate, we cannot modify it. It is going to remain fixed throughout the time. I think the video is getting too long. Let us jump into another one to check the other data types that we have.